Alright guys, what's going on and welcome back to Overunder. Today I want to bring you one of the final remaining gameplays I have within Season 2, and with the off-season being where I currently stand, what better time than now to make a video. I'm feeling like in between these seasons, a mistake has definitely been made along the way. These off-season competitive matches definitely feel like Quick Play 2.0. I don't know if I'm the minority feeling that, but it just does not feel the same as competitive at all. When you take away that SR loss or gain from the match, not to mention you don't give anyone XP for playing, and you don't penalize people from leaving the games, it's just an overall shitstorm. I'm just not feeling it, man. So I'm looking to make a few more videos in the up and coming days, and starting off with today, of course. So in my previous video, I managed to finally bring myself into Masters. Truth be told, it wasn't exactly like a long stretch of time spent, but in terms of releasing YouTube videos on the matter, I've taken my sweet ass time. But with that said, yeah, this will be one of two remaining videos on this account at the very least, and I might chuck in some high-level Zenyatta play that I have as well at about a 3.8k, 3.9k rating. I can't quite remember off the top of my head, so if you're a Zenyatta player or a support player in general, that is, if that's something that you want to see, let me know in the comments, and I'll put some priority on working towards it. So for today, I want to be talking about why I felt like Zarya was one of the strongest heroes in Season 2 from an individual standpoint, and why I feel like she's dropping off a hell of a lot in Season 3. And I guess we better do this chronologically, right? So Season 2, Zarya. If I had to pick one hero that was the strongest in the game, I'd give it to Zarya. She gets the gold medal in my opinion, not just for Olympic weightlifting, that bitch is strong, but in terms of actually the ability to carry a team. When you think of heroes who are actually, the actual strongest heroes in the metagame, I think I'd give that one to Ana. There's a distinguishness? What is the word that there needs to be a distinction between these two categories. I feel like the solo carry potential of Zarya is insane, but the team carry potential of Ana is where she truly shines. So I wanted to make that distinction before we move on any further, just to avoid some confusion. But if you disagree, what do you think was the strongest hero of Season 2? Let me know, I'm curious. But the reason why I feel like Zarya had the impact that she had every single game is simply because there's so many damn reasons to pile on top of it, and to give her any one reason is a little bit silly, but I felt like her ultimate ability in general is the strongest thing that she has to her name, and just the overall damage output of the hero. If you've ever played against Zarya, who's very good at keeping that energy quite high, using those Reinhardt fire strikes, immediately getting the double bubble, insta 100 full energy at the start of the map, that kind of level Zarya, you would have felt the actual tangible presence of that hero being in the map with you or against you. Zarya can either, lead the charge and make it so you are an unstoppable force moving forward, or she can be that brick wall that nobody can manage to fucking hammer through. Zarya, when in the right pair of hands and played with a decent team that has the ability to capitalize on the space that she creates, is an absolute monster. And I feel like the main reason why this is going to drop off a little bit is simply due to the ultimate nerf coming into play. If you're living under a rock and or you cannot read patch notes, what's going under the rug is that every single hero within the Overwatch roster has had their ultimate charge rate cut in the gut by 25%. We're going to take a lot more time charging ultimates into the future, and we're starting to see the repercussions of this in professional play due to them playing on the updated patch. So the reason why this hits Zarya the most, and not other heroes as much, is because her ultimate ability is simply one of the longest to charge within the game itself. Zarya, with quite high energy, of course, can still build the ultimate quite quickly, but that's a momentous-based thing. If you can get that momentum going in the first place, Bob's your uncle, you're probably going to have a good time. But the thing is, with Zarya having, we'll give a flat rate of around 100 seconds per ultimate. if you add 25% on top of that, we've got 25 seconds worth of extra time that that extra dead time that you wouldn't have had in the previous patch. If you compare that to something like a Soldier or a McCree who can build their ult half as quick, or does that make sense? Half as slow? I actually don't know, but you know what I'm saying, right? They can build that ultimate much quicker, much more consistently. That 25% isn't as strong as an impact. So the repercussions, of course, of that is that while Zarya still has the ability to solo carry a team by gravitating their whole enemy team and killing them all with high energy, that is still a very realistic possibility with the hero's capabilities, but the problem comes within the consistency in which this is being performed. The overall, execution of these game-turning ultimate abilities is just not going to happen as frequently, and in result of that, we're going to see a lot less Zaryas, having that solo carry potential and solo, winning the game by themselves, because they're not going to have those windows open as frequently as they used to. And this is where we're going to start seeing heroes like Roadhog take Zarya's place. With D.Va also being quite buffed, now also being a quite very strong tank contender. With Zarya being an inherent pseudo counter to D.Va, I feel like Zarya's weakness to D.Va right now stems from the fact that Reinhardt is being played a lot. I think the Reinhardt shield is the biggest reason why D.Va can shine in the current meta, and why Zarya is starting to fall to the wayside. And we've seen a lot in pro games where triple tanking isn't this foreign concept. It's a very well established strategy within Overwatch, and I think my personal opinion on the whole triple tank being viable is actually pretty disgusting. I think it's really uninteresting to watch, to play, and to verse. 3 tanks is a little absurd, and I think that problem has a few root causes, and I just bumped my microphone. That might be problematic, but I think the 2 strongest reasons why we're seeing triple tanks come into play. The first reason is that they simply have heroes that allow them to sustain. A tank is only good if they can survive. If you have 3 tanks, you're going to need a lot of healing. And root cause number 1, I'm sure you can guess it. Ana's biotic grenade, a little bit ridiculous, and the hero Ana in general having insane heals per second. I think I read that you can get around 312 healing per second if you biotic grenade and then just land a bunch of left clicks. That is just what that outclasses a Zenyatta's Transcendence. That is ridiculous. Just left clicks and a biotic grenade out healing Zenyatta's ultimate ability. So problem numero uno, Ana, in general, probably one of the strongest reasons why we're ever seeing the triple tank be a thing. I think that seriously needs to be looked at into the future. But another reason that I feel that the triple tank is a possibility, and I think this doesn't happen without the first one being in place. I should add this, but you see the triple tanks that are being played. In general, we see this, when Overwatch was in its infant stages in the first and second competitive seasons, we saw a lot of compositions run the 2-2-2 comp, the 2 DPS, the 2 healers, and the 2 tanks. I feel like this is one of the most bread and butter team compositions that will always, be a viable pick within Overwatch's lifespan. But if you think of that 2-2-2 and you think of it in, if you think of it versus the 3-1-2, or however you choose to run a triple tank lineup, the reason why this is viable is because the tank heroes that are being replaced, the tank heroes that are replacing the DPS heroes, simply have the ability to actually perform an insane amount of damage. We see Zaryas, we see Roadhogs, both of these 2 heroes very frequently being used to actually replace the damage heroes, which is very concerning in its own right here. And I think that's one of the root causes. I think if you think of the strengths of a tank, you think of, overall survivalness. I don't think that's English to the best of my ability, but we'll roll with it. Survivability, damage output, and mobility. And if you think of the really survivable tanks, the Reinhardts and whatnot, he doesn't have insane damage output, he doesn't have insane mobility. So he's kind of in his own little world, right? He's okay, and he survives for a very long time. You move on to the tanks with high mobility, They have pretty good survivability, pretty good mobility, but their damage output isn't insane. The problem I have is the tanks such as Roadhog and Zarya, they struggle with mobility, so they buff their survivability and the damage output. The survivability makes sense, right? They're a tank after all. But I think the problem causes is just the overall damage output of these tank heroes is simply too high. This is just to try and remedy their weaknesses that stem from their lack of mobility, I believe. But I think they've got the ratio completely wrong from a balance perspective. But Overwatch is still quite new, and as I said, the main problem, like I have to come back to it, is just Ana's ability to heal these tanks is way too strong. These tank heroes, like if you had like a Lucio and a Zenyatta and 3 tanks, it just would not work out. You have the issues of them, still being able to do a lot of damage, but the balance gets put back into perspective when that survivability factor goes down the shitter a little bit. You can't realistically go down a window. That doesn't make too much sense. But I think the strongest thing to be done within the Overwatch balancing scheme of thing is to realistically make it so Ana cannot sustain 3 tanky heroes. It should be a very foreign concept for a support hero to be able to maintain that amount of healing. And if you want to be running triple tank in the future, I think it will be a thing where it should be necessary for a team to run 3 supports as well, just to keep that level of sustain up on par with the ability for the tank heroes to actually stay alive. I feel like in Overwatch it's way too easy to not die, and in general it congests gameplay a lot and it makes things very stale. When people are surviving longer than they should be thanks to the, things like Biotic Grenade and whatnot, it just slows the game down a hell of a lot, and it makes it very uninteresting to watch and to play. It feels very unrewarding when you deal a lot of damage to your opponent, but nothing ends up happening out of it, and you just end up feeding the enemy Ana ult charge, which is a problem in its own right. But in general, I think Season 3 will be a step in the right direction. I think the balancing team of Blizzard will definitely start... let's just not mention that. But I think the balancing perspective of Blizzard is improving as time does go on. And I think a lot of the things that I've talked about today, I'd be very surprised if we don't see, them acted upon in the future. I think Ana is going to be on the chopping block very early on into Season 3. She's been in the meta for way too long for way too many different reasons. And when you start, nailing down, some of the reasons one by one, at first you think it's the nano boost that's the most broken thing in the hero, but you then realize that once you start peeling back those layers, there's still some very imbalanced mechanics within a lot of the heroes in Overwatch, but with Ana being the most glaringly obvious, I think she'll be starting to see nerfs in the future. But with that said, I'm not entirely sure how Zarya can claw her way back into the extremely, necessary pick that she once was in the previous seasons of this game. And to be quite honest, I think it's going to be refreshing to not see teams heavily relying on Zarya ultimates all the time. I much prefer Overwatch, heading towards a direction where mechanical skill and whatnot be the prevailing factor, instead of just building ultimates and whatnot being the, these trump cards that we've seen so often. And I definitely think that the reduction in ultimate use rates is going to be a good step in the right direction. But as for Zarya's concern, I'm not too sure how she claws her way back into the metagame. I definitely think she will be a little bit stronger once triple tanks isn't going to be such a common thing anymore. Just bursting down Reinhardt and Divas, it's just very difficult for Zarya to get really into the nitty gritty of the fight and actually take down heroes, the Zenyatas and whatnot. You're just not seeing Zarya's closing that distance and actually getting impactful damage off. While she still is doing a lot of damage within the game itself, a lot of it's been allocated towards Reinhardt shields and Diva mechs a little bit. But anyway, guys, as the game wraps up here, one final Graviton Surge to end it out. A very tough game, I must admit. We had a player who later on admits that he wasn't really trying his hardest, but despite his best efforts to do his worst, we managed to pull out the victory. So a little bit embarrassing of a play of a game here, I'm not gonna lie, but it was pretty funny. I had a bit of a giggle. You gotta have a bit of a laugh sometimes. and unfortunately this one was at my fucking expense. It was a great graviton, get so many kills. I'm this great Zarya player, and then I just fucking jump off the edge. So I've got my ways to go, I dare say. Not exactly at peak performance, but at the end of the day, at least we got the W and the MMR that coincides with it. So with that said, guys, running out of time for this video, and in a moment you'll see that we now hit our new season high for season 2. But with that said, I think I have one more video remaining from the Overunder account, and it should be pretty special, and I've been waiting to make that video for quite some time, so look forward to it in the future. But for now, I'm out of time. Thank you for watching the video. Let me know if you enjoyed it via the comment section, and I'll see you guys later in the next video. Take care, and I'll see you next time.